Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the resumed hearings. We're going to carry on today hearing from those who were present in the tower at the time of the fire. Yes, Mr. Rowe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. May I call Hamid Wahbi, please?
Thank you.
I swear by Allah.
I swear by Allah
That the evidence I shall give.
that the evidence I shall give
Shall be the truth.
shall be the truth,
The whole truth.
the whole truth,
And nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wahbi. You sit down and make yourself comfortable. Yes, you can push that away a bit if you want to. All right. Yes, Mr. Rowe.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Can you give the inquiry your full name, please?
My name is Hamid.
And your surname?
My name is Hamid Wahbi.
Thank you. Mr. Wahbi, thank you, first of all, for coming to give evidence today. It is very much appreciated. As you'll know, the majority of my questions today will be about the night of the fire. If you need a break at any time, please let me know and we will stop. I will try and keep my questions to you short and straightforward, but if I do ask you a question that you don't understand, please let me know and I'll ask it in a different way. First thing that we need to do is just to put your statement formally into the record. So could I have, please, on the screen, IWF 401157, page 1, please. If I explain, Mr. Wahbi, this is the first page of the statement that you've made specifically for the inquiry. You can see the page, it's on the monitor in front of you. If you prefer paper, there is a bundle just on the desk in front of you, and you can use that. It'll be at the first tab if you need it. We can see at the bottom that the first page, and indeed every page of the statement, has been signed by you and dated the 10th of May 2018. Can we go, please, to page 15 in this statement and paragraph 90, which is at the bottom. If you look at the bottom of the statement, there's a paragraph 90 reads, I confirm that the contents of this witness statement are true. And if we go over leaf to the next page, you've signed it there. It's been signed. Can you confirm that, and there's a date of the 23rd of October 2018, can you confirm that that is your signature, please?
That's my signature, yes.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to go through your statement recently?
Yes.
Are the contents of the statement true?
Yes, true.
Mr. Chairman, there are no exhibits to put into the record.
Right, thank you.
Could we begin, please, Mr. Wahbi, with a little bit of background? It's right, isn't it, that in June 2017, you lived in flat 136 on the 16th floor of Grenfell Tower?
Correct.
And that was a two-bedroom flat, wasn't it?
Yes, it was two-bedroom flat.
And you lived there with your mother and your son?
Correct.
Did you have a tenancy?
Yes, I do.
And who was that tenancy with?
Me and my mom.
Which organisation did you hold the tenancy with?
RBKC.
If we go, please, to page 5 of the statement, so IWS 401157, page 5. And could we highlight paragraphs 20 to 22? If you, at the top in paragraph 20, you explain, Mr. Wahbi, that you were not given any instructions or information about the fire alarms, use, testing, or maintenance of them when I moved in or at any time since. And then in 21, you say, I'm not aware of any fire safety measures in the tower. If I take you now to paragraph 22, what you say is that I've seen 1 or 2 fire safety notices in the tower, but cannot remember exactly where these were in the tower. I'd like to show you, please, a photograph which was taken from inside the tower after the fire. Are you okay with seeing a photograph like that?
Yes, no problem.
Mr. Chairman, if I explain, and whilst I'm doing so, maybe if others would find any image distressing, then this might be the moment for them to leave or turn away. But it's not an image which is distressing, but it is a fire safety notice which we've shown witnesses before. Could we have, please, BLA 402416? If I could explain to you, Mr. Wahbi, it's a fire safety notice which was cited at the lifts. And in this particular notice was cited at the lifts on floor 3. Do you remember seeing a notice like this between the lifts on your floor?
Yes.
And what about the ground floor? Do you remember a notice like that on the ground floor?
Yes, there is one on the ground floor.
Do you remember seeing a sign like that on by the lifts on any other floor?
No.
You can see at the top that it explains there's a stay policy for residents unless the fire is in or affecting your flat. Was that a phrase that was in your mind before the 14th of June 2017?
No.
We know from your statement that on the night of the fire, you didn't stay in your flat. What influenced your decision to leave your flat?
What do you mean by the when the fire catch on the window?
Well, let me take you back to your statement, back to the page 5 that we were looking at. And again, if we look at paragraphs 20 to 22, please. I'll come to in more detail to what you did on the night, but when one reads your statement, what you did decide to do when you noticed the fire was to leave your flat. And my question is that although you had seen signs like the one we've just shown you, it's just what motivated you to leave your flat rather than stay in it?
Well, I made a decision to leave my flat because when I came to my flat that evening, like normal, I was just due to go and take a shower. And I heard something cracking in the kitchen window. Before hearing the cracking in the window, I was planning for a trip abroad on the 15th to Saudi Arabia. So I came in normal after having a breakfast away from the house with my family, somewhere in Ealing Broadway. So when I came in, I put everything as normal, and I did close my door. I normally leave the keys inside the lock from indoors, and that night I didn't. I just put them in the sitting room, and I started packing my clothes and get everything ready for the following day.
May I just interrupt you a moment, Mr. Wahbi?
Yes.
You've given us a great deal of information, and if I may, can I try and take that in stages with you? But before I do that, and before we get to the night of the fire, can I just draw your attention just to the last sentence of your paragraph 22, where you say, away from Grenfell Tower, I've received fire safety training at work, and in the event of a fire, I would get out of the building as quickly as possible using the stairs. If you go back to the question that I asked you, you had seen a sign that advised people to stay. Did what you had learnt from work influence your decision at all?
Well, from work, if I saw fire, I have to run for my life. I'm not going to stay indoors.
Well, thank you.
That was my decision, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Could we go to the next paragraph, on paragraph 23 on the same page, please? We will come back to the night itself, but before we do, I just want to ask you about smoke alarms in your flat. You say that you had two, one in the kitchen and one in the corridor inside the flat. How did you know they were smoke alarms?
Well, I should know smoke alarms because I do training at work, and I've just done my test later last year, even of what's going on. I've just done my test on 5, even if I'm not working, I have to carry on and prepare myself to go back to my normal life. So I know about the smoking alarm.
And before the night of the fire, did the alarms in your flat ever go off?
No.
So, for example, if you were cooking, would that ever cause the alarms to go off?
It depends.
But were there occasions when they did go off?
They never went off.
Okay. Could we just jump then just to page 8 of your statement and look at paragraph 40? You're talking there about the extractor fan in the kitchen, and the last sentence that you say is that you used to put it on, and it is the extractor fan. I used to put it on when I cooked, otherwise the smoke would set off the smoke alarm. So just so that we can be clear and there's no ambiguity, by using did you put the extractor fan on so that you wouldn't have any smoke? And therefore that meant that your smoke alarms never got set off?
When I moved in, they never used to have that fan in the window. And then they just put it on lately afterward. And it wasn't working properly. And then they came in and then they fixed the problem. And I never had gas in my flat anyway. We just been using electricity because of my mum. And I never had any problem with the alarm, even the fan which is on the window.
Thank you. Let's go back to paragraph 23 then on page 5. You refer in that paragraph to a plastic wrap cover that had been left on the smoke alarms from when they were installed. Were those plastic wraps still on the alarms on the night of the fire?
Yes, I left them there.
You say in the same paragraph at the very end, I did not hear the fire or smoke alarm go off in the tower. Now, when you're referring to smoke alarm there, are you referring to an alarm in your flat?
Yes.
And what about fire alarm? What are you referring to there?
The smoke alarm never went in my house, but when I came out from my flat, I did hear the smoke alarm went on. But regarding the fire alarm in the corridor, that never went on.
So when you say you did hear the smoke alarm go on, was that the smoke alarm in your flat?
It is, yes, from my flat.
I follow, thank you. You said what you've explained is that you did not hear the fire alarm in the corridor. And is that in the landing area outside your flat that you're referring to?
There is a big difference between smoke alarm and fire alarm. I can recognize the smoke alarm and the fire alarm. So the fire alarm, which is added here, is coming from my house.
So you had added a fire alarm in your house?
No, smoke alarm in my house.
Right.
That's what I did here when I was coming out from the flat.
So where was the fire alarm that you referred to?
You're talking about the fire alarm in the corridor?
Yes. Well, what do you mean by corridor?
The hallway.
I see. So is that the corridor, the hallway of your flat?
Yes.
I follow. So what there was smoke alarm in your flat and a fire alarm?
No, not in my flat. There is a smoke alarm in my flat, but the fire alarm is outside my flat.
Right. And where was it outside?
It's just when you come out from the, when I come out, it's on my right-hand side when I come out from my door.
I want to show you another photograph, if I may. And again, I give the usual warning, Mr. Chairman. So if before we put it up, if others want to look away now or step out, now is the opportunity. But it is, again, an image that we have shown before. Could we have, please, BLA 402513? If we could rotate it, please. Mr. Wahbi, if I explain, this is a photograph taken by one of our experts, and it's of the interior of the tower after the fire, and it's a photograph taken on the 6th floor. Can you see that in the ceiling, there's a white object on the ceiling? Do you see that?
Yes.
Right. Was that something that you had noticed on the ceiling of your floor?
Yeah, it's in all floors, that ceiling.
And what did you take that object to be?
Fire alarm.
And why did you think it was a fire alarm?
That's what I know.
How do you know that?
Well, if a fire went on, that light must come. If there is a fire, that light must come on.
As well as the light coming on, what did you expect it to do?
Or to start beeping or giving a noise.
And was it your assumption that when you came home and you saw that in the ceiling on your floor, did you assume that that was a fire alarm?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, in your statement, you say, I was not given any instructions or information about the fire alarms. You also say, I was not aware of any fire safety measures in the tower. You've now told us that that white object that we see on the image was on your floor and that you expected it to make a sound or the light to go on. Was it your assumption from looking at it that it was a fire alarm?
Well, if it's on the 6th floor, it's going to be in all floors. So, and if there is a fire, that meant to be going on, giving warning to people.
Did anyone ever tell you what that object was
No.
for?
I think Mr. Rabat's question really is, did you expect that to make a sound?
Yes.
A loud warning sound?
That's correct.
That's what you thought it would
Yes.
do? All right.
Thank you. Can we go to page 6 then of your statement and paragraph 26, please? If I just draw your attention to the last sentence of the paragraph, where you say the front door did not have any closing mechanism on it and it would not close by itself. How did you know that the front door did not have a closing mechanism on it?
Because I use that door all the time. There is no mechanism on it.
Did it look as if it should have had a mechanism on it?
Yes.
you moved in February 2014.
Correct.
Was the door like that from the time that you moved in?
Yes.
So did it look as if the closing mechanism had been removed?
No, the door was brand new. And, well, before I moved in, when I went to view the place, there was some problem with the lock. They've changed the lock, and there I did notice there is no mechanism on the door. So I just, you have to pull it up and then close it. And there is some complication on the door anyway.
So did it look as if a mechanism had just never been fitted to the door?
Never.
Did you ever ask for a closing mechanism
No.
to be fitted?
No.
Was the door easy to close?
The door is easy to close, but when you use the key to close the door, it's very complicated.
And once you'd shut the door, could someone push it open from the outside if the door wasn't locked?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If you'd shut the door and I was standing outside it, but you hadn't locked it, could I simply just open the door from the outside?
No.
So someone turning the handle of your unlocked front door wouldn't be able to come in?
No.
Could you now, on the same page, please highlight paragraph 27? This is about I think this paragraph deals with the main entrance to the tower, and you say, as you pass the main entrance, you had to be quick to catch the second door, as it was linked to the main door. So when the main door opened, the next door would open. If you were too slow, then the second door would close and you had to use a fob. If a visitor rings on entry system to get in, they had to be quick to get through second door. So just so that we can understand this, does that mean that when you applied your key fob at the main entrance, it would automatically unlock the internal door to the lift lobby?
Exactly, yes. You have to be quick to get to the second door. Otherwise, you have to go back outside and then ring the bell, and it's very...
So the two doors would open at the same time,
No.
would they?
Only the front door. So once you put your fob in the front door, you have to be quick to reach the second door. Otherwise, you have to come out back again. You have to be... It's very complicated situation for the doors. Sorry, I have to...
So you'd use your fob at the main entrance,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to run in to get to the internal door to the lift lobby. And had that already been unlocked?
If you don't have a fob, if you are just a visitor, and if you call from the main door, you have to be quick to open, because I think they link to each other, the both doors. Otherwise, you have to go back and ring again, and this is how I look at it.
I follow. So if I were visiting your flat and you buzzed me in, I'd have to make it to the internal door pretty quick,
That's correct.
or else I'd have to come back out and buzz you again.
That's it. Correct.
But if you were there and you had your key fob, you could get through both doors with your key fob.
Correct.
Could you?
Yes.
Thank you. Could I take you then to page 7? Before we leave the two doors, you've got, if you're at the main entrance, there's a fob mechanism that you can use to open the main entrance. Is that right?
Sure.
Was there the same mechanism to open the internal door that led to the lift lobby?
Sorry, say that again.
Can I do it using an image, please? Again, Mr. Chairman, I'll give the usual warning. It's not a distressing image, but it is an image of CCTV taken on the night. If we look, please, at INQ 50393, that's the main entrance. So you could use a fob key to open that door, couldn't you?
Sure.
Right. Let's go now to INQ 50475. If we could expand that a little bit. This is an image we're going to come back to, but just for the record, we see there's a gentleman wearing a red top, and is that you?
That's me, yeah, running for...
Well, we'll come back to that image in due course, but we can see that propped open, there's a door that would lead, and you can see the lifts beyond. Do you see that door?
Probably that's the reason why they left it on, so...
But if in normal times, to get through that door, if it was closed, was there some way you could press your fob key to open that door?
Yes, you can use your fob key, of course. But we're talking about if someone come and visits and he hasn't got the fob, he's got to be quick. Otherwise, the system will. There is a certain time.
So if you're fobless, you have to move quickly.
That's it. Correct.
Well, let's go to page 7 now and paragraph 32, please. What you've talked about, if I take you just to the first sentence, the floor landing was normally always hot and stuffy. Are you referring there to your landing on the 16th floor?
Correct.
Were there particular times when the landing was like that?
Can you please repeat that?
Well, you say that the floor landing was normally always hot and stuffy. Mm-hmm. Were there particular times of the day that you noticed that it was hot and stuffy?
Yes, the reason I said that because I normally, when I moved to my flat, I bought some plants and I normally put them in front of my door, so they keep dying because there is no air there. It's hot all the time. So it's not one plant or two or three. So I put them there and they just die quickly.
Can I show you, please, 2 images? Again, I give the usual warning if anyone wants to look away or step out, but it's one of them is an image we've already seen today, and they're 2 photographs taken of the interior of the tower after the fire. Could I have side by side, please, BLA 402513 and BLA 402514? If I explain, Mr. Wahbi, these are, as I think we've shown you one of them, but they're photographs taken on the 6th floor. 2513 is looking north towards flats 4, 5 and 6, and 2514 south towards flats 1, 2 and 3. But you can see that in the image that's on the left-hand side, can you see that there are, at the far wall, there are 2 grills at the top? Can you see those?
Yes.
And if you look on the other photograph, on the wall, there are 2 grills at the bottom. Do you see those?
Yes.
Do you remember seeing grills like that on the 16th floor?
No.
You've said that the ventilation was bad on your floor. Did you ever hear any noise, like a fan noise at all?
Yes, all the time I did hear some noise, but not from these 2 images here.
But you heard a noise on the 16th floor that sounded like a fan?
That's correct.
Can you describe that noise at all?
How do I describe that noise? It's like just when you start your car, something like that.
And was it a particularly loud noise, or?
Not really, not very loud.
And you say that you could hear it all the time, but can you be a bit more specific about what time, were there particular times of the year that you'd hear this noise, or particular times of the day?
Well, I leave home early and I don't come until late. so I'm not there all the time. So I'm there just like midday, just when I'm delivering some food to my mum. So I'm not there. I'm not, I don't give attention too much to what's going on up there.
When you left early in the morning, were you aware of the noise?
Yes.
And when you say you popped back at midday to see your mother?
Still, yes.
Were you still aware of the noise then? And in the evenings when you got back?
In the evening when I get out from the lift, I go straight to my flat.
But you've got 3 times of the day when you're coming back to your flat. Doing the best that you can. Did the noise ever vary at all?
Noise is there all the time.
Before we leave these 2 images, you can see that there are light fittings in the ceiling. And there are 4 there taken together. Do you remember seeing 4 lights in the ceiling of your floor?
Yes.
Okay, could we go back to your statement, please? Page 7, so IWS 401157, page 7, and look at paragraph 35. What you've said is the door to the stairs also had a self-closing mechanism at the top. This was working and the door closed by itself properly. When I used the stairs to train, I remember that most of the doors on the stairs from the other floors were closed most of the time. That means that there must have been some doors that were not closed. Could you tell why they were not closed?
Well, as far as I know, from the 16th floor, the door very, very hard when you open it. So that means it's got some mechanism on the top. About the other floors, I don't know.
But did you see doors when you were using the stairs for training? Did you see doors that were open?
You mean the stairs doors?
Stair doors that led to other floors. Did you ever see them open?
No.
Could we go, please, to the next page of your statement and look at paragraphs 40 and 41? Paragraph that we looked at a little earlier, which was when you were talking about the extractor fan, and you explained there that it was changed, and this is the extractor fan in your kitchen. Once the extractor fan was replaced, did you have any further problems with it?
No.
You say in paragraph 41 that you could hear cooking smells, or you could smell cooking smells. Was that when you were in your kitchen that you could smell that?
Yes, I do. Sometimes the washing machine from my neighbor next door, probably, I believe so, I'm not sure, probably is Richard. And, when you, for instance, if you just want to take the rubbish out to the lobby, you can smell some cooking food going on.
But whilst you were in your flat, the particular place where you could smell cooking smells from other flats was in the kitchen, was it?
Yes, definitely coming up from maybe from the 14th or 15th floor. From the 14th or 15th floor.
And it was also whilst you were in the kitchen that you could hear machine noises?
Yes, especially night time. I do hear machines working.
And you
via
thought
the wall.
Those were washing machines, is that what you...
100% is going to be a washing machine.
Well, could we now turn to the events of the 13th and 14th of June sales? If we go, please, to page 9 in your statement. You've explained in your statement, and you've already told us today that you were out that evening of the 13th of June, weren't you?
Yes, correct.
And I think in your statement you put the time that you started to make your way home as between 12:20 and 12:30 a.m. And on that night you were home alone, is that right?
Correct, yes.
When you got home, and this would now have been in the beginnings of the 14th of June, but when you got home, what was the temperature like on your landing when you got home?
What do you mean by temperature in my landing? Inside the house? Or?
No, fair point. You would have come back, gone to the 16th floor,
Okay.
and stepped out. I'll call it the lobby area.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so the area that's the communal area that's outside your door on the 16th floor. Do you have any recollection of what the temperature was like on that lobby area when you got home?
It was normal. So, like I said, the noise from that fan, and then I just got in my flat.
And when you say normal, does that mean that it was, as you described it before, hot and stuffy?
Yeah, sometimes it's very hot, and sometimes it's not.
And do you have a distinct memory of hearing the noise of fans when you got home that night?
Yes.
If we look at the next page in the statement, page 10, please. And if we could look at paragraphs 51 and 52. What you say in this part of your statement, Mr. Wahbi, is that at about 1:15 a.m. you were about to take a shower. How did you establish the time?
Wow. I did establish the time by putting my phone on charger, my laptop, bought 2 phones on charger, and then, checking the battery, and the time come up.
So, and that was just before you then went and decided to take your shower?
That's correct.
What you then say is that you heard crackling coming from the kitchen. Can you describe that noise further, please?
Okay, when I've done my first, before I put my phone to be charged, I was doing my prying. I finished prying, and then I put all my equipment to be charged, so ready to fly the following day. Then I picked up a towel, go into to take a shower, because we don't have a bath anyway, so the situation is made for my mum, disabled. So I just took a towel, go into the bathroom, getting out from the kitchen, going straight to the bath. Something very, very strange, which is I never heard before. Something was cracking, and I just turned back, and I went to the kitchen. I saw the fire.
Right. Well, can we pause there? Mr. Chairman, I've been asking questions for almost 45 minutes, and I was going to ask for a break. Anything before we move on to more details?
Would you like a break?
No, it's okay. Carry on, please.
Well, we'll do a few more minutes. And
Yeah,
I think
that's fine.
If you can help me with this, let me know. But if you can't, just tell me. But
I'll try to help as much as I can. Yeah.
Thank you. You said, I think, a few moments ago that the sound that you heard was not like something you'd heard before. But do you have anything to compare it to?
Yes. It's like somewhere in the wall or something.
And were it distinct sounds or a continuous sound of crackling?
Yes.
Continuous sound?
Yes, it is.
Could I, before we go on, just ask you a little bit about the layout of your flat? That's all right. Could we have, please, MET 30125593 on page 12 of that document? If we could expand flat 6 at the top. Mr. Wahbi, if I could explain to you that the diagram that we've shown you is one that is for the 4th floor, but the layout of the flats for the floors above that matches, and so we can use that to orientate ourselves around your flat. So what we see is a flat 6 here. Yours would, of course, have been flat 136, but it's 2 bedrooms. Did you have a door from the hallway into the kitchen?
Yes, there is a door from the hallway to the kitchen, correct.
If you were in the kitchen, could you also step from the kitchen into the lounge?
If you're in the kitchen, yes, there is. You can step to the sitting room. There is some slight doors.
So there were. So if we just again, if you tell me if I've got this wrong. So there would have been a door that would have opened from the hallway into the kitchen.
Yeah.
You would have had a door that would have opened from the hallway into your lounge.
Correct. Yes.
But if you were already in the kitchen,
yes,
you could step through sliding doors into the lounge.
That's correct. Yes.
That's very helpful. And taking you back to the night itself, you're in about to take a shower. You hear this crackling sound that you've described, and you then, as you explained in your statement, went to find out what was going on. Before you reached your kitchen, having left the bathroom, were you aware of any smoke in your flat?
No.
If we go back, please, just to page 10 and look, please, at paragraphs 51 down to 53. In paragraph 52, you describe seeing flames. When you reached the kitchen, was there any smoke in the kitchen?
When I came back from the shower, which is I never did took, so I just came to the kitchen and there was no smoke at all.
What you say is that you could see flames, which you describe, and you say of the flames were red, large, and appeared to be coming from the flat below, the 15th floor. They covered my whole window and appeared to be going up above my window. So just so that we can understand it, were these then flames that you could see outside your window?
Correct, yes.
So nothing had come into your flat
not
at that time?
Not at that moment.
What you explained is that you then opened the window slightly so that you could have a look out. Was that, when you opened it, was that the first time that smoke came into the house, into the kitchen?
When I came back from the shower, when I came back to the kitchen, and what I saw from my window, something very, very strange, and I just decided to go to the window, and I tried to open went to the handler of the window, tried to open the window, and just everything went like the smoke and the fire just like following me, and it was something very, very strange. So at that time, the kitchen, everything went black. So most of the smoke, which went to the lobby, came out from my flat first,
Well, can I pause there, Mr. Chairman? Would this be a convenient moment?
It might be a good point to have a break, mightn't it, Mr.
That's
Wahbi?
fine. Thank you.
We'll have 10 minutes or so.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you, please, not to talk about your evidence with
Yes,
anyone
sir.
else while you're out of the room.
Yes, sir.
And we'll come back and start again at 11 o'clock. Would that be all right?
Thank you, sir.
Good. Would you like to go to the usher then, please? All right, 11 o'clock then, please. All right, Mr. Wahbi, are you happy to carry on?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Rawat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wahbi, I just want to ask you a couple more questions, if I may, about the kitchen window.
Yes, of course.
And to do that, I'd like to show you an image. Again, I give the warning that it is an image which, whilst not distressing in itself, is taken of the inside of the tower after the fire. So if others may wish to look away or step out. The reference is BLAR 703 and then page 23. Thank you very much, Ralph. This is a photograph taken in flat 13, and it's of a kitchen window in flat 13. Is that what your kitchen window looked like?
My kitchen window, this is not my kitchen window.
It's not your kitchen
No.
window, it's flat 13, but did the kitchen window in your flat look like that? If it doesn't help you, tell me and we'll...
It looks to me this is too big size, and I don't know, but my kitchen window just nearly similar, but not the fan.
Right.
Fan is about a new one.
Right. But did you have two windows like that, as in a large window on the left as we look at it and a smaller one?
Yeah, same window.
What you say in your statement is that you opened the window slightly so you could have a look out. Using that image, can you tell us which window you opened?
The small window on the right-hand side. Because I had some plants next to the big windows.
Right.
So I went to the small one, which is clear. So sometimes when we are cooking, we open the small window, including the fan working.
Taking us through it, when you opened the window, in your statement you say you opened it slightly. What could you, when you were trying to open it, what could you see outside the window?
Fire.
And when you were holding the handle, was there anything happening with the window at that time?
Well, it was fire, but I just said, what's going on? And I went to the window, and I put my hand on the handler, tried to open the window. The time I did open the window, it was something like reflection. Something just followed me quickly. As you know, the building was on a fire all the way from the 14th floor, so that means it's too much heat was going on, coming up all the way to the 16th floor.
Can you remember how far you were able to open the window?
Well, I went right in front of the window because on my right-hand side there is a fridge, and I just, not that far, not even the distance between me and the window, like from here to this monitor. And it was a very, very shocking reaction when I opened the window.
So the distance between you and the window is, as you said, the distance between the edge of the desk and the monitor. And how far were you able to open the window?
Well, I went to the window just like this, and I was in front of the window. I was going to I was planning to look what's going on from the window. So I just, at that time I have to run as quick as possible because I only had a towel and wearing shorts at that time.
Well, let's go back to your statement then and go back to IWS 401157, page 10, please. And let's look again at paragraphs 52 and 53. I don't need to take you to it, but in an earlier paragraph of your statement, Mr. Wahbi, you say of the windows in your flat, the windows had plastic frames and the shelves underneath the windows were also made of plastic. The windows only opened a small amount and were difficult to clean.
Mm-hmm.
Was that also true of the windows in the kitchen, that they only opened a small amount?
Yes. But if you have some knowledge how to open the small window, there is some mechanism on it. So you just remove it and then the small window will open wide.
So, and had you adjusted that mechanism so that you could open your small window?
Well, at that time?
Not at that time, before?
Yes, before, yes.
Yes.
Not other, yeah, I did.
And was that mechanism in place on the night?
Never on the night.
So this was a window that could only be opened slightly on that night?
Correct, yes.
What you say is, I cannot remember if the window was not hot to touch, but upon opening it, the smoke pushed the window and started coming into the kitchen. Could you describe the smell of the smoke?
The smell of the smoke, it's... I'm just going to say it's a plastic smell. Because the window is rolled with all the plastic all over the windows in the kitchen, sitting room, and even the ceiling, some part of the ceiling, there are some plastics there.
Did you see anything happening to the plastic frame of the kitchen window?
Well, when I opened the window kitchen, the fire maybe starts burning the plastic straight away.
Did you actually see that?
No, I ran. I didn't see nothing at all.
Before you left the kitchen, were you able to see any flames coming into the kitchen?
100% flames came inside the kitchen.
And how did those flames come inside the kitchen?
Well, fire coming out from the building, probably from the outside, getting in, catching with the plastic.
Did they come in through the window that was open?
Correct.
Did you see flames coming in
Yes, behind
anywhere
me.
else?
No.
So it was just through the window that you noticed?
Just through to the window. And the smoke went all the way to the sitting room, where was all my equipment, so I couldn't even take nothing with me. So especially the key, I just want to mention this, if you don't mind. The key, as I said, I normally leave the key by the door, but that night I left the key in the sitting room. And I was I'm not going to say I'm lucky, I left the keys in the sitting room and I never closed the door.
Well, can I come back to that in a moment, if I may? I
just have to mention, otherwise it will.
Yes, no,
Thank you.
I do have to ask some questions for you about the living room.
That's fine.
What I want to do is just a couple more questions about the kitchen, please. Did you have any blinds or curtains at the kitchen window?
No.
And you've described flames coming in through that window that you'd opened. Did you see anything catch fire in the kitchen?
No.
If we look at paragraph 53 now, and now we're coming to the living room, Mr. Wahbi, but you say you left and went into the sitting room. Was that through the sliding doors that opened from the kitchen into the lounge?
That's correct, yes.
And you say that the sitting room was filled with smoke. Just so that we can be clear, where had that smoke come from?
Smoke came out from the kitchen, but it was very, very, very fast smoke coming from the window. So I just couldn't get nothing from the sitting room.
Do you remember if any of your sitting room windows were open that night?
No.
And so was it the case that the smoke was following you from the kitchen into the living room?
Correct. I made sure before going to the shower I did close all the windows, so I don't want to leave them because I was going to go away the following day.
You've say at the end of paragraph 53, you describe it as a very strange smoke and you describe the effect on you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the physical effect that that smoke had on you, please?
Well, very, very strange smoke, which is I never smelled that kind of smell before. Just started coughing straight away. I started coughing badly and spitting as much as I can. And I did spit some black smoke. I mean, I did notice that, and I took a picture of it and some blood.
And was that did that happen when you were in your living room? That you were spitting that up?
When I came out to the stairs, to the main stairs.
Can I come back to that then when we get to when you get to the main stairs, please? If we look now at paragraphs 54 and 55 on the same page, you explain in paragraph 54 that you got dressed, but you didn't put your shoes on, and then you went into the landing area outside your flat door. And what you say is that all of the items that I had packed to go away were in the sitting room, but I did not have a chance to go and get any of them as the smoke was intense. Did you have any lights on in your flat at this time?
Yes, I had the light in my flat that time.
When you were getting dressed and getting ready to leave, can you remember how much smoke there was in your living room at the time?
The door in the kitchen, it's normally inside, so when I came out from the kitchen the smoke was following, and I'm just made the decision to put my trouser, which was on the top of the heater, just to make it a bit warm. So I took my, I remember I had my trouser and my jumper on top of the heater, which is next to the shower, and in the corridor.
In your hallway.
Yeah, in the hallway. So we have a heater there next to the shower. Yes.
So when you were standing in your hallway, and getting dressed, how much smoke was there in your flat?
Yeah, smoke came all the way. Smoke starts coming to the hallway.
So was the kitchen door open? The door from the hallway into the kitchen, was that open?
The kitchen door was open because the kitchen door is always, my kitchen door is always, you can't, even if you close the kitchen door, you know, it's going to be a bit funny. So the kitchen door is always open. So at the time I was in a rush to wear my clothes.
I know that estimating time is difficult, but from hearing that crackling sound to your leaving the flat, how much time do you think passed?
I wasn't at that time. That's it. No more chances looking at my times. I have to be honest here. So I was thinking about my life. I'm not looking at the time, so I forget about everything. Try to get out as soon as possible. I never had any watch with me, nothing at all.
That's a fair answer.
Thank you.
If we go then on to paragraph 55 and see what you say about the landing, and here, just so we can be clear, this is the landing outside your front door, isn't it, where the lifts are? Is that right?
Yes.
You say that the lights were on in the landing and there was a little bit of smoke already in there. When you went to your front door to leave the flat, did you notice if there was any smoke coming in through the front door?
Excuse me. When I came out from from my flat to the landing, there was no smoke. There was no smoke there.
So the landing was completely clear?
The landing was completely clear at the time. So I made... Can I carry on?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I made the decision to go to the 15th floor. So I thought the fire is coming from the 15th floor. Anyway, I'm just gonna make it quick because I met with some people on the stairs. So when I went to the 15th floor, I jumped to the 14th floor. I met some other. So I made the decision to come back to the 15th floor, back to the 16th floor. The time I came back to the 16th floor was full of smoke because I left my door open, so the smoke was coming because the building, the fire did catch from the northwest side. How, I don't know.
So can I take that in stages then? So is this right, that when you left your flat and stepped into the landing, it was clear of smoke?
Correct.
You left your flat door open, and so the smoke that would have come in came from your flat?
That's correct.
Can I take you just to page 11 of your statement, and let's look at paragraphs 56 and 57. And you've already touched on this because you say that you ran to the 15th floor to find out what was happening because I thought the fire was coming from there. And then you say that when you got to the 15th floor, you met a firefighter. And you describe him as wearing a mask. Can you give any other description about this firefighter at all?
Sorry, can you give
is there anything else that you remember about what the firefighter looked like?
Oh, yes. Right. When I came out from my flat, as I said, I left the door open. I made the decision to go to the 15th floor. I did open the heavy door, going down. I met with, well, let's call it firefighter X. He was, I think you did, well, he's been questioned anyway, so I met him himself struggling there, give him, trying to give us some instruction where to go. I just passed him and then I went to the 14th floor, which is, I didn't mention it, that just came up. So I met with another firefighter there. They are taking a woman, Caribbean woman, from the smoke. And so the smoke was coming from the 14th floor. I'm on the 15th floor. The firefighter is there on the. He was struggling there.
All right, can I pause you there and just try and take it in stages with you? I just so when you step on from the your landing from the lobby area of floor 16 into the stairwell, was there any smoke on the stairwell at that level?
Not on the 15th floor.
On the 16th floor.
Well, when I did open the stair door, the smoke starts coming out from the 16th floor.
Right, but inside the stairwell itself, did you notice any smoke?
No smoke at all. So, but there is some smoke on the 14th floor,
right. Well,
because the door was open.
If I'm not trying to stop you, but I will get to the 14th floor in a moment, if I may. I just want to clarify about the firefighter.
Okay.
Presumably, he was wearing a helmet.
Yes.
Did you remember whether he had a black stripe on his helmet?
I can't remember.
Do you remember if he was wearing gloves?
No idea, I don't know.
You said that you've described him as a he in your statement.
He,
So
yes.
A male firefighter.
Is he, not she, yes.
What you say in your statement is that you spoke to him, but you don't say that he spoke to you. So what was it about him that made you decide he was a male firefighter? He was a male, and I just said to him, excuse me, there is a fire coming out from 15th floor. And I carried on going downstairs, so. Do you remember if this firefighter was carrying any equipment with him?
I don't think so.
What you say in your statement is you say, I said there's a fire, my friend. But what you've now told us is what you remember saying to him is that there was a fire on the 15th floor. Do you now have a specific memory of mentioning to that firefighter the 15th floor?
The reason I said to him there's a fire from the 15th floor because I never knew that a fire is coming from the 4th floor. So I thought the fire is coming just from the 15th floor. I never had a clue what's going on because I never had any call from no one while I was in my flat from the time I went there. So I just thought the fire is coming just from the 15th floor. I never knew that the building was on fire.
But just so that we can be clear, because you've said what you recorded as saying was there's a fire, my friend. But do you now remember telling that firefighter about the 15th floor?
I remember telling him there is a fire on the 15th floor, yes.
Now, at this time and before you started going down the stairs, so you're now at the 15th floor.
Yeah.
Did you see any other firefighters at this time?
Yes, on probably was the 14th floor. I saw them come bringing a Caribbean woman, and the smoke was coming at the time from the 14th floor.
But when you were with this firefighter, who you've described as struggling, were you aware of other firefighters being present? Right.
No.
Well, let's go down to the 14th floor then. Before I take you to the 14th floor, again, just sticking with this firefighter, when you encountered that firefighter, could you see anyone else in the stairwell? Like another resident, for example?
At the time when I went to the 15th floor, I never saw no one.
Okay. Can we go to the 14th then? What you say in the 14th, in paragraph 57, is that you saw, I went to the 14th floor and I saw firemen bringing people out from their flats. Does that mean that you actually went from the stairwell into the lobby of the 14th floor?
Correct, yes.
And how many firefighters did you see?
As far as I know, from at the 14th floor, about 2 or 3, bringing a woman.
And rather than people, was it just one person that you saw these firefighters assisting?
Yes, just one person. Yes, they are assisting one woman. It was a woman.
Did you see what flat this woman had come from?
No.
And did you see where the firefighters took this woman?
They were in uniform, yeah.
But did you see where they took her?
They brought her out, yes.
Down the stairwell?
Yes, sir.
If we go, please, just look at the rest of the page. If you look at the first line of paragraph 58, Mr. Wahbi, you said, I decided to go back to 16th floor. And I want to ask you in a moment about that journey back to the 16th floor.
Yes.
But before I do, can I just draw your attention to paragraph 61? Which is on the next page. If we could expand that, please. So paragraph 61 deals with an event that happened after you had gone back to the 16th floor and when you were leaving. And what you describe is that you say, I ran down the stairs about one floor down between the 15th and 14th floor. I saw a woman of medium build in her mid-50s being helped down the stairs by 2 firefighters. One of them was holding her hand.
Yeah.
Is this the woman that you are thinking of?
Definitely, yes. A woman, she was, she was shouting, yes.
And just so that we can be clear about the sequence of events, in your statement, you say that you saw this woman after you had returned to the 16th floor and then decided to go back down the stairs to leave the tower. Your evidence today is that you saw this woman before you returned to the 16th floor when you went down to the 14th. Do you follow? So just so that we can be clear, is your memory now that you saw this firefighters assisting this lady before you had returned to the 16th floor?
Let me make it clear for you, yeah? So when I came out from the 16th floor to the 15th floor and then jumped to the 14th, I saw the LFB taking the woman out from the 14th floor, helping her to get out. I returned back to jumping quickly to the 15th and back to the 16th floor. This is it.
So, and when you told us then that you went to the 14th floor and that's what you saw, can you remember what the conditions were like on the 14th floor?
Condition was clear, but when the door from the 14th floor was opened, the smoke was coming. As soon as you open the main door to the stairs, the smoke starts coming from the lobbies.
Into the stairs?
Into the stairs, yes.
And did you yourself open that door?
Which one?
On the 14th floor?
No, I was far away. I didn't. This was fire brigade people that doing that job, not me. I saw them taking the lady and they have to rush back to the 15 and then back to the 16.
So when you saw them taking the lady, was she on the stairwell or had you gone into the 14th floor lobby?
They just bringing her out from the main entrance door from the lobby.
So just so that we can be clear, you didn't actually get into the lobby of the 14th floor yourself?
No.
So if we recap a little bit, is the sequence this: you leave the 16th floor, go down to the 15th where you meet this firefighter.
Correct, yes.
Go down to the 14th. You don't go onto the 14th floor lobby, but you then see firefighters assisting a lady.
That's correct.
Down the stairs.
Yes, at that time I did realize something was going on the tower.
Can I take you back to your evidence about your return to the 16th floor, please? It's page 11 of the statement, and can we have paragraphs 58 and 59? What you describe in these paragraphs is your return to the 16th floor. Why did you decide to go back to the 16th floor?
Well, I made a decision to go to the 16th floor because I thought I might go and help as much as I can and try to get some of my, some of my stuff, and especially my passports, my passport and unfortunately, there is no way to get there.
As you were making your way back up the stairs to the 16th floor, did you see any firefighters in the stairwell?
Still there, same. Firefighter X was still there.
And was Firefighter X in the same location?
Exactly, because, maybe he was coming from, as far as I know and as far as I saw what he was talking about, he came up from the second floor all the way to because he didn't know which floor he was.
Well,
so he was on the 15th floor.
What's important to us is what you remember of that night yourself.
Yes, he was there.
And you had never encountered Firefighter X before, had you? So was he in the same place as you'd first seen him?
Same place, yes.
Were the lights still on in the stairwell?
Yes.
And Was there any smoke in the stairwell as you went back up from the 14th to the 16th?
No,
And what was the temperature like in the stairwell at this time?
normal.
And what do you mean by normal?
Temperature, it's a normal, 15, 16 degrees Celsius.
If I draw your attention to paragraph 58 and the third sentence, what you say, and this is that you've reached the 16th floor now. I was standing in the doorway between the stairs and the landing, keeping the door open. So you were able then, presumably, to look into the landing area or the lobby area of the 16th floor.
Yes, I did open the door, and I did hold it with my back because it's a heavy door.
Did you notice whether there were any lights on in the
I
16th
can't,
floor?
no, at the time the lobby was full of smoke, so you can't see nothing.
Can you describe what that smoke was like?
Black smoke, very, very black, thick smoke.
And did that black, thick smoke have any effect on you?
It's like I said to you earlier, yes, I just was, I was holding my breath and coughing all the time and doing my best to use my energy as much as I can. And I stayed by the door.
But was this, I referred you to a bit of your statement earlier when you described coughing. Was it at this point that you started coughing up anything?
Yes, I did.
And what did you cough up?
I did speak something black, and because there was some more light on the stairs, and I did realize some blood coming out from my mouth.
You say that the lobby area was full of smoke. Taking the, measuring it from the floor to the ceiling, how much of the area was full of smoke?
The area which was full of smoke, but I did realize when I just, I came down and there was about a centimeter or something like that. The smoke was from the floor up to this level, so I just put myself down and start looking if there is someone coming or. Sorry, put myself down and I start looking if there is somebody coming out from the neighbor.
Right. So, just so that I can understand it, was there less smoke closer to the floor?
It was less smoke closer to the floor, correct, yes, that's the word.
And so you crouched down to try and see if you could see anything?
That's correct.
You've described the temperature in the stairwell as normal.
Yes.
Did you get any sense of what the temperature was like in the lobby area of the 16th floor at this time?
Well, because the lobby was full of smoke, so I'm not going to be able to measure the temperature in the lobby, so it's full of smoke.
But did the smoke feel hot to you?
Yes, it is.
Did you have any sensation of heat on your face, for example?
Correct, yes.
What you say is that the first neighbour that you encountered was your neighbour Eddie from flat 135. When did you first see him?
I saw Eddie when I was standing by the door, and I do remember that very, very much, because maybe he can't remember, so we can't judge everyone due to what's going on in our mind. But I do remember Eddie came out on blankets and he just walked through the stairs.
But how near to the door was he before you saw him?
Well, I'm holding the door like this, and he just passed me, and then the door was held by me, and he just walked by the stairs.
But that would have meant that he must have walked through the lobby to the door,
yes,
where you were.
Via the smoke, yes.
So how close was he before you actually saw him coming out of the lobby area?
Well, it looks to me it just came out from nowhere.
So did he just suddenly appear
just-
at the doorway?
Yeah, but still a little bit visible.
You also describe seeing another neighbour with his wife and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
How far behind Eddie were that couple with their daughter?
I can't tell you the time, but I was standing by the door, and the lady with her daughter and Mr. Richard, they came out as well, and the girl was still in my eyes. The girl, she was coming with her mom and her father, and I don't think they do remember me, but I do remember them when they came out.
And just for the record, I think you were here when he gave evidence. Is that Richard Fletcher?
That's why I'm here, yes.
You also described seeing your neighbour Sam. Was that the first time that you'd seen Sam that evening?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Thank you.
In the paragraph, if we look at it, you say that when he was coming out, I saw my neighbour Sam. He was standing in front of the door by the stairs, covering his face. So was that the first time that you saw Sam that evening?
Yes, I saw Sam standing, because I've tried to get inside, even if it was very smoky in the lobby. I saw Sam standing right in front of the door by the stairs, holding his hoodie, and then try to keep breathing and standing half like this. And I did ask him, Sam, where is your dad? He said to me the word which he said last time. He said his dad is frozen, he can't walk. So this word has been used by him. So he said to me, Dad is frozen, he can't walk. And he said to me, where's your mom? I said to him, my mom, she's not there, she's away. And just instantly Sam ran via the stairs.
Right, let's pause there for a moment, please. So again, was your first sight of Sam when he appeared by the door where you were standing, or you were crouching? The door into the stairs from the lobby?
Maybe Sam come after the family and he stands by the door. And 100% he saw the same firefighter standing on the...
Well, let me stop. What's important to us, Mr. Wahbi, is what you can remember. So don't worry about what anybody else can remember or cannot remember.
Okay.
But I'm just taking you through your evidence. I just want to ask, I'm asking for your help as to just when you first saw Sam.
First I saw Sam, he was standing in front of the stairs door.
And that's the door where you were?
That's correct.
Now, you've set out the conversation that you had with Sam. And he tells you, my dad is frozen. And I said, let's go get him. His dad was an old man. When I turned to look, I could not see Sam. I could not lift him by myself. I left him. Did you actually see Sam's father at all?
No.
If we look at paragraph 59, you say, I held the door for them all to go down the stairs ahead of me. Just so that we can be clear, do you remember that your neighbours coming out together or in groups?
Individual, in groups.
So the first one was Eddie?
The first one was Eddie, and then Richard and his wife and their daughter, and then Sam. And
did you, again, I appreciate this time is very tricky. Okay. But do you have a sense of them all coming out within a very short space of time of each other, or spaced out?
Not much time. It was very, very short, squeezed time, very short time between each other.
Can we look, please, at page 12 of the statement and expand from the top of the page to include the whole of paragraph 62, please? While you were standing by that door on the 16th floor. Do you recall seeing any firefighters at any time?
Yes.
And what did you see?
Same firefighter I did mention earlier.
Had that firefighter moved from his the place you'd seen him earlier?
Well, he was still there, but me, when I'm going to make the decision to leave, I don't know if he's still there or not.
But did you see, just so that we can be clear, did you see a firefighter on the 16th floor?
What you mean in the lobby?
Well, either on the stairwell where you were.
Stairway, yes.
And so a firefighter came up to the stairwell where you were.
That's correct, yes.
And did it look like the same firefighter that you'd seen
person,
earlier?
Yes.
Were you aware of, did you see whether that firefighter went into the 16th floor lobby?
No.
Is that no, I didn't see, or he did not go?
No, I didn't see him going to the 16th floor.
Were you aware of any other firefighters in the 16th floor lobby?
No.
What you then decided to do was to make your way down the stairs.
Yes.
And you explained that you used a towel to cover your face. Do you remember that when you left it, do you remember the door to the 16th floor, from the stairwell to the 16th floor closing?
No.
Do you know what happened to that door?
No.
And just before you began going down from the 16th floor, can you tell us what the conditions were like in the stairwell on the 16th floor at that time?
Wow. I made the decision to run as much as I can, and from 16th floor to the 15th floor, meeting with different firefighter and people struggling to get in or to get out from their flats. I just made a quick speed to go right to the ground floor.
What you've told us is that when you went back to the 16th floor, you held that door open, didn't you?
That's correct.
And you've
yes.
described what you've seen on the 16th floor landing. By the time that you left the 16th floor to go back down the stairs, was there any smoke on the 16th floor in the stairwell?
Some parts, yes. There is some smoke in some parts, not all the floors.
Well, let's take the 16th floor first. Was there any smoke coming from the 16th floor into the stairwell?
When I was holding the door on the 16th floor, of course the smoke was coming out from the lobby. So when I left, maybe the door wasn't shut, so it will protect the smoke coming out to the stairs.
Now, as you began to make your way down to the ground floor, did you notice if any other stairwell doors were open?
The 14th floor, when I went back there, it was shut. I didn't see no one, and I just made my way to the ground floor, meeting with, I made a decision. I wasn't looking to his behind or in front of me. I just was going and speeding as much as I can to get to the ground floor.
You've described that the firefighter you've identified as Firefighter X came up to the 16th floor. Was Firefighter X still on the 16th floor when you left?
I don't know.
Do you remember what happened to Firefighter X?
None at all.
As you started making your way down the stairs, did you encounter Firefighter X again in the stairwell?
No.
Did you encounter any other firefighters?
No.
What I want to do now, Mr. Wahbi, is just show you some CCTV stills. And again, Mr. Chairman, I'll give the usual warning. They are not in themselves distressing, but they were taken on the night, so others present or watching online may wish to look away or step out. The first one is a an image that we've already seen today, Mr. Wahbi. It's INQ 50475. And it's just so that we can orientate ourselves. And what I'm going to do is give what we call the adjusted time, which is the time, which is the best estimate that we're able to give for the real time that the image was taken. And for this image, it's 1:38 and 45 hours. Again, you've confirmed that that's you there in the middle of the image, and that's on the ground floor.
That's me, yes.
Do you remember what happened to the towel?
I got rid of it. I have to leave it behind.
And was that during the course of your descent down the stairwell?
Probably.
I'd like now just to show you a sequence of further images.
No, sure.
And I want to do that. I want to show you them all. I'll give the times. And I'll do that before I ask you any questions. So can we have INQ 50476, please? Adjusted time for that image is 1:38 and 50. And that's you, isn't it, exiting through the main entrance?
That's me. I still got that jump on the trouser, yes.
Okay, well, let's look at 3 more images. INQ 50477. Adjusted time 1:38 and 52. INQ 50478. Adjusted time is 1:38 and 50. 1:30. I'm sorry, I've got the time wrong for these. So I'll just, for the record, for INQ 476, the adjusted time is 1:38 and 14. For 477 is 1:38 and 16. And if I could just show Mr. Wahbi 478, the adjusted time is 1:38 and 19. The last image I want to show you, Mr. Wahbi, is INQ 50479. And the adjusted time for that is 1:38 and 21. If we could just put now INQ 477 and INQ 478 next to each other, please. So these are 2 of the images that we've just taken you through. And you can see that you're in both images as well as 2 firefighters. Does that help you to tell us what was going on at this point?
As far as I know, I think 100%. I've told them there is on the 16th floor there is a man there and a woman, Sheila. I don't know what's going on with the fire. There's some. Maybe they are busy with their. So just told them there is a man and woman on the 16th floor. They need help.
So the man that you told them was on the 16th floor and needing help. Who was that man?
The man on the 16th floor, I told the LFP, is the Sam's father, Joseph, Mr. Joseph.
And you referred...
And Sheila, my neighbor, Sheila, the old lady as well, who passed away.
So you told them that there was an elderly woman as well on the 16th floor, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that was a reference to your neighbor, Sheila?
Sheila and Mr. Joseph, Sam's father.
Had you seen Sheila at any time that night?
All the time.
But had you seen her that evening?
No.
In your statement to us, you don't mention this conversation. Can you just help us with what has brought back the memory of a conversation?
Well, it's nothing to talk about that time. You know, as far as I can remember, everything is gone in the tower. So I'm just thinking about telling them there is some old people on the 16th floor.
How confident are you that you had a conversation with these specific firefighters?
Well, I trust myself, and I'm very confident too about what I was saying, because I never had my mom that night there, so old people shouldn't be there.
Did the firefighters tell you what they would do with the information you'd given to them?
I don't think so.
You say, I don't think so. So is it possible that they did say something about what they would do?
No, they were talking to each other, but they never spoke to me back. So I told them what's going on the 16th floor and who is on the 16th floor, and I made my way. I let them carry on with their duty.
And when you got out of the tower, how are you feeling physically?
When I got out to the from that tower, the door of the Grenfell, there is no more feeling that night. I just took my way to the next to the sports center. Try to help as much as I can, and then moved to Lancaster Road. And I started there looking at the tower. I just thought they're gonna bring the fire to control, but I just stand there looking at what's going on in a shock.
What you mentioned earlier when you were clarifying your evidence about being on the 16th floor it was on your return to 16th floor that you started coughing. Do you remember that? Were you still coughing when you left the tower?
I was coughing, and there was a picture on the Metro mirror. I mean, on the Metro newspaper. Sorry, it was taken. It was the first picture being taken by some photographer. I was coughing on it, and in the meantime, helping as much as I can.
Mr. Chairman, I've reached the end of my questions, but could I ask now
break?
for the usual break so that I
Yes.
can check if there are others that I might need to ask?
Well, Mr. Wahbi, as you heard, at the moment, Mr. Rabat doesn't have any more questions, but he needs time just to check that. So we'll break now until midday. And
Thank
then,
you.
We'll see whether there are any more questions at that point.
Thank you, sir.
All right?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Would you like to go with the usher?
Thank
very
you,
much.
sir.
All right, 12 o'clock, please.
Bismillah.
Right, Mr. Wahbi, I suspect a couple more questions.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Mr. Robert?
There are, Mr. Wahbi, there are a few more matters that I've been asked to cover with you. So can I take them in probably no particular order, but we'll take them with the last point that we were looking at. Do you remember I showed you some CCTV stills?
Yeah.
Is it right that you've been able to watch some CCTV?
No problem.
No, but have you watched it before you gave evidence?
Yes.
And was that what prompted your recollection of having spoken to firefighters when you left the tower?
Not really.
Can I go, please, to page 12 of your statement, so IWS 40115712, and let's look at paragraph 61, please. If we look 4 lines down, you say in that paragraph, at some point I heard a voice shout, stay indoors, stay indoors. Now, taking it again in stages, can you remember if you heard that voice when you were running down the stairs to leave the tower?
When I was on the, when I came out from the 16th floor and went to the 15 and the 14, that's what I've heard.
So that was on the first time you left the 16th floor that you heard that?
Correct. Yeah, when I left the, no, sorry, hold on. When I came out from the 16th floor to the 15th floor, and then I saw the LFB helping the lady, so that's what I did her.
Now, you describe it as a voice shouting, stay indoors, stay indoors. Could you tell whether that voice was coming from a floor above you or a floor below?
14th floor.
It was coming from the 14th floor?
Mm-hmm.
And so was it coming from the lobby area of the 14th floor?
Between the door and the lobby on the 14th floor. I've heard it coming out from the 14th floor, but I don't know where. But I did catch that word.
Can you help us at all with the nature of the voice? Was it a male voice or a female voice?
No, it's a male voice.
And did it have a particular accent?
Well, it's got to be very English accents.
You told us in evidence that you when you left your flat, you left the door open, the front door open.
Yes, I did.
Why did you leave the front door open?
I left my door open. For some reason, because I went to the 15th floor to check what's going on, and I never had that chance to think about the door at the time. So the door was left open, just worrying it might get closed. So I was thinking I might go back and get my equipment. But unfortunately, when I came back from the 14th, 15th floor to the 16th floor, couldn't make it.
So were you expecting to be able to go back into your flat?
100%. I was expecting to go back and get my equipment and my stuff. As I said, I was planning to travel the following day.
You've given specific evidence about firefighters that you encountered, and one of them you've identified as Firefighter X. Can you remember if Firefighter X was wearing any breathing apparatus?
No.
Does that mean no, he wasn't wearing
No,
any?
he wasn't wearing the mask to breathe. I haven't seen him wearing it.
You also described seeing 2 firefighters helping a woman.
Correct, yes, sir.
Were they wearing any breathing apparatus?
Yes.
Let's go, please, to page 11 of your statement. Look at paragraph 56. This is a paragraph in which you are referring to firefighter X. And what you say is he had a mask on but was struggling to breathe, sitting on the stairs. So what's the difference between a mask and breathing apparatus in your mind?
Well, he had his, as far as I can see, he had his mask, but his mask was never on his mouth. So he was giving us, I remember he was telling me something, but I have to go to the 14th floor because his mask, which is, you normally put it in here, he had it right down like this and he was sitting on the floor. I don't know, maybe he's tired or, so I don't want to talk about.
So you could see a mask on him, but it was
Yes,
pulled
correct.
down
Yes.
to just below his chin.
Yeah, that's the only way he was talking to us.
The last question, if I may, if I take you back to page 5 of your statement, please. Paragraphs 20 to 21, please. You say in paragraph 20, we've looked at this before, but it's referring to that you were not given any instructions or information about fire alarms. And you also say you were not aware of any fire safety measures in the tower. You had an elderly mother, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Were you given any information about what you should do with your elderly mother if you had to evacuate from the tower?
By who?
By anyone, any individual or organisation?
None at all. But I know how to deal with the situation with my mum as a carer in the meantime.
So you had a plan about what you would do with your mother if necessary?
I do have my qualification as a carer for my mother and how to operate. And I do that test every year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wahbi. Just one last matter. We've all now been able to look at your witness statement that you've given, and you've been very patient in answering the questions that I've put to you today. So aside from the evidence that you've given in that witness statement and in your answers today, is there anything that you saw or heard on that night that you would like to draw to the attention of the chairman?
Wow. I think Mr. Chairman is aware of what's going on, and we're just normal people. We just want to get on with our life and get back to normal. We don't want, I'm not going to say we don't want nothing. We just, I'm not going to carry on talking too much because I've never been to a court before in my whole life, okay? This is the first time since I came to England to improve my life. I'm just going to talk about myself, so please let me just explain to the gentleman here. I've never been to the court in my whole history, number one. Number two, I never stopped working. Now I'm not working since the 14th of June 17. All what we are asking, we just a working community. We are normal people. Everyone wants to get on with his life in a proper way. And we hope that you got the message from, not just from me. I've got a mum who is 90 and she's waiting to be sorted out by RBKC and then get on with the rest of her life as well. And my mum, she's 90 years old. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wahbi, for coming and giving evidence today.
Mr. Wahbi, I'd just like to say how grateful we are to you for coming along to tell us about what was obviously a very frightening and terrible experience. It's really useful to us to hear about what you experienced at different points in the evening, because it'll help us to piece together the story. And I hope it hasn't been too difficult for you to do it, but we're very grateful indeed.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Mr. Rawat.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, I have a number of statements which I would like to put formally into the record.
Yes.
And if I can explain first that while I will be reading extracts from some of these statements today, it is useful to point out again that the entirety of each statement is placed into the inquiry's record of evidence, and the entirety of the statement is considered in full as evidence before this inquiry.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the first statement to be placed into the record is that of Hamid Wahbi, who is the son of Mr. Hamid Wahbi, from whom you've just heard. The reference is IWS 50113. And if we go to page 10 of that statement, we can see that it is signed with a statement of truth and dated the 15th of May 2018.
Yes.
There are two exhibits to be placed into the record, with references for which are IWS 50111 and IWS 50116. If I begin with a small summary, Walid Hamid wasn't home that evening, but he does describe receiving a lot of messages indicating that he had missed calls. And if I take you, Mr. Chairman, to page 5 of the statement at paragraph 33, this part of the statement is headed 14th of June 2017, and paragraph 33 begins as follows. My mum called and said, "Have you seen what happened to your house?" I asked what was going on, and she said, "It is burning." I hung up and then received a Snapchat. I clicked on one of the Snapchats of someone that lived in the area, and I saw the tower burning. I saw red flames in the video. I put on my jacket and I left on my moped as soon as possible, leaving most things behind. I left around 12:45 to 1 a.m. when the fire was at the early stages. It continues, I wanted to get there as soon as possible. It took me 15 to 20 minutes to get there. It was one road. I started seeing the smoke and fire from Shepherd's Bush and smelling it. It smelt like burning plastic. I could see the smoke and a bit of red-orange light from the fire from the distance. I was driving up Latimer Road. I heard fire engines, police, and people. It was like a movie. If I move on, Mr. Chairman, to paragraph 36. I was on Lancaster Road, and in front of me I could see the fire on the left-hand side of the tower building. It looked scary. It looked like it was eating up the building. It was getting bigger and bigger by the second. There was black and grey smoke, and the fire was red, yellow, and orange colour, and very dark black smoke. Everywhere there were particles floating, black bits. The particles were big and small. I could hear people crying. I did not want to look up at the tower. If I did, I started crying. I could hear people screaming and crying. I saw a lady drop to the floor and cry. She was crying so much. I got a call about 25 to 30 minutes after I got there, from a local neighbour from the area to say he was with my dad. He said my dad was safe. I found him 10 minutes later. He looked stressed. He was screaming in our language, Moroccan Arabic, saying, "Everything is gone, everything is gone. We start from zero. We have to start all over again. This is all I have got." He was pointing to his clothes. He had no shoes on. And I move on to paragraph 39. I saw people flashing their phones from inside the building. There were some people from inside that were waving towels. They were also putting lights off and on. It got worse during the night. Every 5 minutes or more, there was an explosion. Every time there was a loud explosion, everyone would scream. The explosions were frequent until they ran out. It was like boilers blowing up. The explosions lasted the whole night. They kept going up the building as the fire was going up. A big whole flame was coming out from the building. I could see the explosion, then the fire, and then black, dark smoke, which looked like mushroom clouds coming off the building. I could smell burning plastic. The fire was a light red and the smoke was grey and black. There was smoke everywhere. The fire started off small and spread quickly. Within the space of an hour or two, it covered about 40 to 50% of the building. The fire was going up and around. It was going bigger and bigger. It was going quite fast. Mr. Chairman, if I now go just to paragraph 48 of the same statement, which is on page 7 of the statement. I arrived at the scene before the area was cordoned off, so I was quite close to the tower on Lancaster Road. The area was cordoned off slowly by the police. They started pushing people up Lancaster Road. Smoke went into my eyes. I inhaled the smoke. I was coughing badly at one point on Grenfell Road. It was only when I had fresh air that I could feel how sore my eyes were. It was stinging and burning. But when I got to the road where there was fresh air, it was hurting more. I wanted to itch it. This went on for a couple of weeks. Me and my friends were on the phone to my friend Yassin El-Wahhabi. He lived on the 21st floor with his family. He said he was told to stay put by the fire brigade. He said, they told us to stay in. They told us to stay in. I said, say your prayers, someone will come for you. At the time, other people were trying to call him. He said, I will call you back. Let me call you back. I need to answer this call. He died in the fire along with his family. Mr. Chairman, that's all I propose to read from that statement. But if I may now move to some other statements. You will recall that on the 18th of October, you heard evidence from Flora and Fahad Neda.
Yes.
And they lost Flora's husband and Fahad's father, Sabah Neda, in the fire. What I would now propose to do is to put into the record the statement of 4 relatives of the Neda family.
Right.
And they are, first of all, Habib Rahman Abdul Rahman. And the reference for the statement is IWS 50883. If we go to page 4, please. Perhaps the page 3 might be the page to do it. Yes,
3.
Sorry. It has a statement of truth and is signed and dated the 21st of May 2018. There are no exhibits accompanying this statement. The next statement is that of Flora Zara Saeed, which is at IWS 50888. Again, if we could go to the last page of that statement, page 4. The statement is signed and with a statement of truth dated the 21st of May 2018, and there are no exhibits accompanying it. The next statement is that of Rabi Abdul Rahman. If I explain that Flora Zara was is the wife of Habib Rahman Abdul Rahman, and their son is Rabi Abdul Rahman, and his statement to the inquiry is found at IWS 50881. It's a 3-page statement, and if we could go to the last page, please. You see that it's dated the 20th of May and signed with a statement of truth. There are no exhibits to be put into the record. The last statement of this set of statements to be put in at this stage is that of Lot Rahman Habib Rahman Abdul Rahman. He is Rabi's brother and so also a nephew of Flora and Sabah Neda. He has made 2 statements to the inquiry. The first is at IWS 50882. If we go to the last page of that, please. It shows that it's signed with a statement of truth on the 21st of May 2018, and there are no accompanying exhibits. The second statement is a supplementary statement at IWS 401132. If we go to the second page of that statement, see that it is signed again with a statement of truth and dated the 15th of October 2018. Mr. Chairman, I don't propose to read from all four of these statements. Taken individually and together, they show the close bonds between the two families and the regard that they had for Seba Neda. I will, however, read from Habib Rahman Abdul Rahman's statement, and if I could have, please, IWS 50883. In paragraph 2, Mr. Abdul Rahman says, I've known Sabah since the early 90s in Afghanistan. I married Flora Zara Seed in the early 90s, around the same time that Sabah married my wife's sister. We've therefore been a very close family from that time. And if we go, please, to paragraph 6 on the next page. Mr. Abdul Rahman explains, on the evening before the fire, we spent the night together as two families. And if I pick it up at paragraph 9, paragraph 8, forgive me, he continues, in fact, I'm sorry, I'll start that again. I'll start from paragraph 6. On the evening before the fire, we spent the night together as two families. As always, it was an evening full of fun and laughter and smiles. Sabah and his family left after midnight, and I was in bed when I got a call from Farhad saying that there was a fire in the tower. He said that they were stuck on the top floor. After I put down the call, I called my son, Masi, full name Lot Rahman Habib Rahman Abdul Rahman, who was at work, and I asked him to leave his job in Paddington to go and see if there was need for us to travel from Hounslow into Ladbroke Grove. My wife overheard the telephone conversation and knew that there was something wrong. She said, let's immediately leave and go to the tower. So we woke my other son, Rabbi, and asked him to check the internet to see what was being reported. At the same time, Masi called once more, once he arrived at the tower, and tried to calm his mother by saying that everything was okay. He then spoke to me and said, Dad, you must come immediately. We therefore immediately left our home, and in the rush, I left my mobile phone on the kitchen table. We went to the tower and we got as far as Grenfell Road and were stopped at a barrier by police and going no further. We spent the evening praying and hoping that everybody would be okay. And my son Masi was able to get in over the barrier and eventually came back to tell us that my wife's sister Flora was alive and Farhad was alive and in the recovery tent. We believe, therefore, that Sabah must have got out, and we had high hopes. If I draw now, just go to paragraph 12 of the statement, please. On the same page. Mr. Abdul Rahman says, when I returned home after the fire, I found my phone on our dining table. On my phone was the last message that Sabah left before he died, where he said, goodbye, I'm leaving this world, goodbye. I hope you won't be in pain. Goodbye, everyone. His voice was calm, and he clearly did not show any fear. If I could now read from the statement of Lof Rahman Habib Rahman Abdul Rahman, which is at IWS 50882. Thank you. If I start at paragraph 3, please. At approximately 1 o'clock in the morning, whilst on my night shift at the hotel in Paddington, I received a call from my father. He told me that he'd received a call from Farhad, my cousin, saying that there was a fire in the Tower of Grenfell. He asked me to go to Grenfell immediately to see how dangerous the situation was. I would estimate that I got there at approximately 1:05 a.m. to 1:10 a.m., as it was only around the corner from where I work, and when I arrived, there were already some firefighters and policemen at the site. There were also relatives of people from the flats standing watching. If we could now go to paragraph 7, please, on the next page. Lof Rahman says, During this period of time, I kept my line available to Sabah and Fahad, who called me a couple of times asking about the situation and asking me what the situation was on the outside. They were asking why there wasn't any help coming up to the top floor. They said that when they had called the fire brigade earlier, they were told to stay inside the apartment. They therefore did as they were told. I would estimate that I first asked the police what my family should do around 1:10 a.m. They told me that according to the fire brigade, the best thing they could do was to move away from the doors and to try and cover the gaps on the doors with wet towels. I passed this message on to my family. If I go on to paragraph 12 of the statement, Rahman says there, at 2:37 a.m., I received the last phone call from my uncle Sabah. He was again asking me what was going on. He was asking why there was nobody there to help them. I could also hear two terrified female voices begging for help in the background. He told me that I should be honest with him, and he asked the following question: is there anybody going to help us within a minute, as the fire has already reached inside of the apartment? During that question, I was standing beside a policeman and a firefighter. I asked them the same question, but neither one could answer me. Sabah was still on the phone, and it was clear they had no solution to the problem. He then said, "Massi, if they," and he meant the fire brigade and policemen, "would not come to rescue me and the people in the flat in the next minute, then you should not be surprised if we are dead." After this sentence, Sabah put down the phone, and that was the last that I heard from him. If I finish with paragraph 13 of this statement, I called him continuously after this time, and his phone just kept ringing. Mr. Chairman, for the record, I should explain that in his supplementary statement, Loframan Habib Rahman Abdul Rahman gives a time for the call from Sabah Neda to Habib Rahman, and that time is given as 2:40 a.m. The next statement I would put into the record is that of Nasreen Sadat, and the reference for that is at IWS 50885. If we go to page 7, please, of the statement, you can see that it's dated the 21st of May and signed with a statement of truth. There are no exhibits accompanying the statement. In summary, Ms. Sadat in her statement explains that she's the fiancée of Fahad Neda. She was abroad on the 13th of June 2017, and she woke early the following morning to messages from Fahad. And if we go perhaps to the first page of the statement, we can see where she describes those messages. If I summarize, she woke early the following morning to messages from Fahad saying that he was saying goodbye and asking for forgiveness if he had ever done anything bad towards me, and telling me he always loved me. This was followed by further messages from Fahad confirming that he and his mother had made it out of the tower, but they didn't know where his father was. Ms. Sadat immediately left for the airport, and she spent the rest of the summer in the UK supporting the Neda family. Can I now put into the record the statement of Muhammad Aref Neda, who's the brother of Sabah Neda? And that statement is at IWS 50880. If we go, please, to page 3 of the statement. The statement is signed with a statement of truth and dated the 21st of May 2018. There are no exhibits accompanying it. And if we could perhaps go to the second page of the statement. But again, if I could summarize the statement for the record, Muhammad Neda is the brother, as I've explained, of Sabah Neda. And in his statement, he describes Sabah not only as a brother, but as his best friend. He explains that he was woken around 3:15 a.m. on the 14th of June, when his daughter called his wife's phone. His daughter had received a call from Fahad to say, "Our flat is on fire and I can't find my dad." Muhammad, his wife, and son-in-law drove to Grenfell Tower. They found Fahad and Flora in hospital and then began to help in the search for Sabah. If we look at paragraph 5, in the statement, Mohammed Aref says this about his nephew. I see my brother in Fahad, and this gave me an immense amount of comfort and calm in what was a horrific situation to be in. Sadly, the search for Sabah ended in his being confirmed as a victim of the fire. In paragraph 6, Mohammed says this about his brother. My best friend, my brother, my role model, taken away from me in such a way that has left a great big hole in my heart, a void that can never be filled. Mr. Chairman, the next statement to put into the record is that of Mohammed Amin Popal, which is at IWS 50884. Again, if we could go to the last page, please. It's dated the 21st of May and signed with a statement of truth. Mohammed Amin Popal is a cousin of Fahad Neda, and he lived one road away from Grenfell Tower. He was woken in the early hours of 14th of June 2017 by a commotion outside. He looked out and saw the tower on fire, and he then got dressed and ran towards the tower. If I begin with the first page of the statement, please. And I start with paragraph 6. On seeing how serious the fire was, I called Fahad and told him, "Cuz, your block is on fire, you need to leave." He replied by saying that he had already spoken to the firemen and that they'd been told to stay in their flat. As I was able to see how serious the fire was, I remember questioning that advice, and so I kept asking the policeman beside me on the road, "What are the firemen doing and what floor have they got to?" The policeman said that the fire brigade was dealing with the fire the best that they could, given that the fire was spreading so fast. I kept asking the police officers present what was the best thing for my cousin and his family to do, and they told me that they were advised to tell them to stay in their flat whilst the fire was being dealt with. If I move now, Mr. Chairman, to paragraph 10 of the statement, Mr. Popal explains, I received a call from Fahad at 2 a.m. when he told me, "My flat is getting hot and some of my neighbours have come into our flat. The smoke is starting to get to us. What should we do?" I again asked an officer for an answer to this question whilst Fahad was on the phone, and he said, "Anyone on the 11th floor above is advised to make their own escape. The firefighters will not be able to get to them." I relayed that message to Fahad and told my cousin, "You need to get out right now. If you don't leave your flat, you are going to die." That was a very hard and difficult conversation to have with a cousin whom I had grown up with and whom I loved. Fahad replied, "Okay," and put the phone down. I never heard another thing from Fahad until 40 minutes had passed, and he thankfully phoned me to tell me he and his mum had escaped and had got out of the tower. You will never know the sense of relief that I felt. However, in the same conversation, he told me that he had lost his dad and didn't know where he was. Chairman, that's all I propose to read from that statement. But what I would like to do now is to put into the record the statement of 3 tower residents who lived in flat 8 on the 3rd floor. None of them were at home on the night of the fire. The first statement is that of Sia Nashbandi. Reference, please, IWS 50327. If we go to the last page, please, page 4. You can see that it's dated the 21st of May 2018 and signed with a statement of truth. If I take us back, please, to the first page. I'll just read the introductory paragraph. I'm the above-named person, and I lived at flat 8 on the 3rd floor at Grenfell Tower with my parents, brothers Masi, Ravi and Rashad, and sisters Sadaf and Samira. Can I now ask that we move forward in the statement to paragraph page 2 and pick it up from paragraph 6, please. In the early hours of 14th June, I think it was around 12:30 a.m., I decided to stop working as I had an extremely bad headache. My partner, Kirat, had told me earlier that she would be dropping our daughter off at Grenfell Tower. I drove home and parked up near the tower when I noticed a small fire in the tower. I was standing near the tower with 2 or 3 people and some firefighters. I tried to run towards the tower to get in as I was worried that one of my brothers was inside, but I was stopped by a firefighter. I called my brother Rashad a lot of times before he answered the phone. I told him to get out of the flat as there was a fire, but Rashad didn't think there was a problem, as he did not hear any fire alarms. I shouted at him to get out, but Rashad told me that he did not hear a fire alarm. I demanded that he get out now, as I could see the fire spreading, and he said he would come down. I then called Shakib, who was a relative living on the 23rd floor. I told him to come out now as there was a fire. He told me that the fire brigade had already come up to their flat and told them that everything was under control and they should stay indoors. I just told him again to get everyone out of the flat and come downstairs. I think it was approximately 2 hours later that Shakib called me again. He was crying and screaming and asking for help. I asked him why he was still inside, and he just repeated that the fire brigade had told him to stay indoors. He started begging for help, so I ran to a police officer to ask for help, but he just told me that everything was under control. I tried to tell him that my friend had told me that everyone on the 23rd floor had moved into Shakib's flat. I also tried to get help from the fire brigade, but I was told that there was a unit on its way to help them. I didn't believe what they were saying. I called Shakib again, and by now he was screaming that the fire was in the flat. And before he could say anything else, I lost the connection and the phone went off. I think it was about 20 minutes later that I received another call from Shakib, and he confirmed that he'd managed to get out with his mother, and they were standing near the pharmacy. He was very upset and crying, and asked me to look out for his father, who'd separated from them. I paused. Won't read any further from this statement, Mr. Chairman, but just to be clear, that the reference to Shakib is a reference to Farhad Nader. The next statement to be put into the record is that of Modja Habib at IWS 50917. 9-page statement, if we go to page 9, please. You see that it's signed and dated, dated the 22nd of June 2018 and signed with a statement of truth. There is one exhibit to be put into the record, which is labelled MH1, and the reference for that is IWS 50750. And to explain, if we could go back to page 2, please, of the statement, and start at paragraph 6. Ms. Habib was the partner of a brother of Sia Naqshbandi, who's called Masi Naqshbandi, and she was living in flat 8 at the time. If I start reading from paragraph 6, I had relatives that lived in the top floor of Grenfell Tower, the Neder family. Flora Neder is my uncle's wife's sister. I knew and was close with all of that family. Saba, Flora, and their son Farhad. Farhad and his father were very close indeed. They were best friends, almost inseparable. I was relatively close to their family, so much so that their flat was the first place I visited after I gave birth to my son. For me, Grenfell Tower felt like a safe and happy place. If I move on to Miss Habib's account of the events of the night itself and start with paragraph 8. I was not in Grenfell Tower on the morning of the fire, 14th June 2017. There is a celebration for a new child whenever the child turns 20 days old. And this celebration is an opportunity for the mother to get out of the house and to see family members. As a result, my sister had invited me and my son to her house in Ruislip. If I move on to paragraph 10. I was still awake, sitting around and chatting at my sister's house in Ruislip until the early hours of the morning on 14th June 2017. At approximately 1:15 a.m., I saw a Snapchat video posted by Masi's brother, Sia. It was video of Grenfell Tower from the outside. The building was clearly on fire. It was only a small bit of the building that seemed to be on fire at that time, although I cannot recall exactly how much. I remember becoming very concerned about Sia and worried about our home. I told Massey and the other people that were with me at the time that there was a fire at Grenfell Tower, and they were very worried too. I now understand that the fire started at 12:54 a.m. on the 4th floor, which is the floor above our flat. Sia was not in the tower at that time, and he'd arrived home to the tower when he saw emergency services there and fire on the building. He did not go inside Grenfell Tower. However, Massey's other brother, Reshad, was in the tower at the time the fire started, and he managed to get out shortly after the fire started, but I do not know what time he exited the building. Massey called Sia almost immediately after I had told him of Sia's Snapchat video highlighting a fire at Grenfell Tower. At the time of the call, which I do not remember, Sia told him that he could not find Reshad. After the telephone call with his brother, Massey left Ruislip immediately. He went to Grenfell Tower as quickly as he could. I tried to call Flora Neda on the 23rd floor, but she did not pick up her telephone. I called Fahad, her son, and he did pick up the telephone, and I spoke to him very briefly. I cannot be sure what time this was, but he said that he knew about the fire in the tower. Fahad also told me that the family had arrived home less than an hour before I spoke to him. I now understand that tragically they went up to their top floor flat just moments after the fire started. Fahad told me that they were upstairs in their flat. Having been up there, I was aware of how high up their flat was. I could hear Flora in the background. She sounded very scared. She was not screaming, but she was speaking in a panicked voice. She is a quiet person generally, so I could tell that she was scared. He cut off very shortly after, saying something along the lines of, "I have to go." I became a go-between for communications between Sia, who was outside of the building, and Fahad, who was inside his flat on the top floor. I had told Sia to tell the firefighters and the other emergency services that Fahad Neda and his family were trapped on the top floor of the tower. Sia told me that he was asking the emergency services what Fahad should do. I cannot recall who gave the advice, but I remember that Sia told me he was informed that people should stay put in their flats. I cannot recall when that advice was given, as I was sending Fahad WhatsApp messages throughout the night, and I was also on the telephone with him. The advice that Sia received that I relayed to Fahad was certainly given before the WhatsApp messages that are exhibited. Sia also sent me videos of the outside of the building when it was on fire, and I could see that the fire was on the other side of the building to the location of Fahad's flat. Fahad sent me WhatsApp messages shortly before and shortly after 2 a.m. Those messages were very disturbing. I exhibit screenshots of those messages to this statement. His messages hit home for me, and as if I did not know it before, I began to realize the gravity of the situation and the danger for everybody left remaining in the tower. It was terrifying, even for me, though I was not in the tower at the time. So that's all I propose to read from that statement, but the next statement to be put into the record is that of Masih Nashbandi, reference IWS 50334. We go to the last page, page 4, please. The statement is dated the 21st of May 2018 and signed with a statement of truth. There are no exhibits to accompany it. I propose to read 3 paragraphs from the statement, which are on page 2 of the statement, please. Paragraph 11 down to 13. On the night of 13th of June 2017, I was with my partner Mojda and baby son at her sister's home. My brother Sia called Mojda and told, it should be her, that there was a fire at Grenfell Tower. This call ended, but then Sia called us back and told us to call Shakib, who was a relative of Mojda's, who lived on the 23rd floor. However, I tried to call my brother Reshad. Then we called Shakib and told him to get out of the flat. I then called my brother Sia again to give him Shakib's number so he could call him. I left just after 1:30 a.m. to make my way to Grenfell Tower. A friend drove me, and I remembered on the journey that I'd forgotten my mobile phone. When we were near to Grenfell Tower, I noticed that all of the streets were closed off, so I had to get out of the car and make the rest of the way on foot. By the time I arrived, my brother Reshad had managed to get out. And that's all I propose to read from that statement. Mr. Chairman, on the 18th of October, Mr. Millett read into the record the statement of Ahmad El-Gawari.
Yes.
And you will remember his mother and sister lived in flat 196 on the 22nd floor and also died in the fire. What I propose to do now is to put into the record the statement of Ahmed's wife, Fazana El-Gawari. The reference for that is IWS 50995, please.
Yes, right.
If we go to the last page, the statement is dated the 25th of July 2018 and it's signed with a statement of truth. In the statement, Fazana explains that she and her husband had spent the evening, 13th of June, with Mariam. Mariam left their home at about 9:30 p.m. that evening. And with that introduction, what I would propose to do is take you, Mr. Chairman, to page 2 on this statement and take it from paragraph 10, please. Ahmed and I stayed up watching TV in the living room just before midnight and then went to bed. Around 1:30 a.m. to 1:35 a.m., I woke up to Ahmed's phone ringing. I assumed it was the alarm and that it was already time for Ahmed to get up for work. I kept hearing the phone ring, but Ahmed was not waking up, so I looked at my phone to check the time and saw I had a missed call from Mariam. I immediately started to worry, so I nudged Ahmed to wake him up and told him that Mariam had called my phone and that I think she was also trying to call him. He got out of bed and looked at his phone. He looked shocked. He read out a message from Mariam saying, "Ahmed, please pick up, there's a fire." I didn't know what was going on, but I started to feel really panicked. He rang her as soon as he read it out. I don't remember what was said as it was such a brief conversation, but I remember he told her to get out and that he was on his way. When he got off the phone, he told me that there was a fire in the block and that they were inside. Whilst he was quickly getting ready, I remember that he looked at me and said, "I feel sick." It was clear that he had a bad feeling about the fire, which made me feel even more panicked. I thought it must have been quite bad because he's not the type of person to feel that way very easily. A few minutes later, Ahmed got a call on his mobile from his friend Mohammed Rasool. Mohammed lived in the tower with his wife Munira and their children. Mohammed said something along the lines of, "I don't know if you know, but the block is on fire, and I think your mum and sister are still inside because I can't see them outside." Ahmed said that he had already had the phone call and that he was on his way to the tower. Mohammed explained that he and his family had got out safely and the call ended. It was a very short phone call. When Ahmed left our house, I immediately called Mariam. According to my phone records, this was at 1:56 a.m. She picked up and I just asked her what was going on. I told her that Ahmed had told me that there was a fire in the block. She told me that the flat was on fire and that everything had gone. She sounded really distressed and I think she was crying. I didn't get the impression that she was too worried about her well-being at this point and fearful of her life because she was referring to the loss of her possessions rather than mentioning anything about her personal safety. I was so worried that I didn't want to panic her more. I just said, "Don't worry about what you've lost, at least you are safe." I asked if Esther was safe and Mariam responded to say, "She's right next to me, but she's freaking out." I felt hopeless. I knew that her mother would be panicking, and it upset me so much knowing they were in danger. Mariam was coughing a lot, so I told her to get a damp towel and put it over their faces. She said that she was already doing that. I could also hear others in the background coughing, but I'm not sure who they were. I asked Mariam where she was. She told me that she was in someone's flat and that they tried to go downstairs, but as they did, people were coming back up, telling them to go back upstairs and to stay inside. I don't know what people she was referring to, but I assume it was other residents who lived in the tower. She also told me that they tried to go to the roof, but that it was locked, and that they were let into someone else's flat on the top floor. I told her that Ahmed had left the house and that he would be there very soon. I told her that Ahmed will call her as soon as he gets there, or even on the way to the tower. As I could hear Mariam coughing more and more, I was really concerned that I was preventing her from having the towel over her mouth. I remember saying, "I'm not sure if you should be talking now, as you should just be holding the towel over your face." I didn't want to keep her on the phone for too long because of this reason, so I said I would go. I said, "I love you." She responded saying, "I love you too," and that was it. I didn't speak to her again after that phone call. I never imagined this would be my last conversation with her. Mr. Chairman, that's all I propose to read from that statement. Yes. But finally, I will deal with two witness statements from residents of Barrington Walk, Mr. and Mrs. El Sawi. And they had been close friends of the El Gawari family for many years. Mm-hmm. So the first statement is that of Karima El Sawi, and that is at IWS 50424. If we go to the last page, please. Yes. The statement is dated the 20th of May 2018. It is signed with a statement of truth, and there are no accompanying exhibits. The second statement here to put in now is that of Zakaria Kamel El Sawi, and that statement is at IWS 50427. Again, if we go to the last page, please, and that is page 7. The statement is signed. It's accompanied with a statement of truth dated the 20th of May. And there is also an accompanying statement that explains that the content of the statement and the declaration of truth has been read out and explained to Mr. El Sawi.
Right.
If I take these two statements together and explain by way of summary, Karima El Sawi and her husband Zakaria had lived in Barrington Walk on the Lancaster West Estate since 1982. And at about 1 a.m. on the 14th of June, they were disturbed by noise from outside. Mr. El Sawi reported that he could also smell smoke, and he went to check whether there had been a fire in the rubbish chute or in any of the rooms in their property. The couple then went out onto their balcony and saw the fire at Grenfell Tower. Mrs. El Sawi went to try and help, but was turned back by police officers. She tried to contact her friend Elsa El Gawari, but Mrs. El Gawari didn't answer the phone. If I could just take you back, Mr. Chairman, to Mrs. El Sawi's statement, paragraphs 27 and 29, which is at IWS 50424, page 5, please.
Yes.
And this is the evidence that Mrs. El Sawi gives about the couple's evacuation from Barrington Walk. After standing at the balcony for a few hours praying for the safety of everyone inside the tower, we heard loud banging on our front door at around 4 a.m. I shouted out to Zakaria to open the door. I said, "Quick, quick, go and open the door." He ran downstairs and opened the door, and I followed him down. 2 policemen wearing high-vis jackets were at our door. They yelled, "Get out, get out." I said I needed to get dressed and also get our medicine. They insisted that we had to leave straight away. I only saw 2 police officers, but there may have been more inside our building, as all of our neighbours' doors were also being knocked down. We left the building shortly after 4:19 a.m. The police officer was at the door waiting for us to leave. I did not take anything. I was confused. I thought that my building would be on fire too, and that the tower would collapse on the building. I felt in danger. My initial fear had been confirmed. We went out of the rubbish chute area and came into the green area between Barrington Walk and Testerton Walk. While I was walking out, I saw many other people walking out of Barrington Walk. It was almost like a stampede with people pushing each other out of the way. When I came out to the green area, I noticed a lot of emergency services on Whitchurch Road. Chairman, that's all I propose to read at this moment.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's all the statements we wish to put in the record in this session. Our next witness is scheduled for 2 p.m.
Right, thank you very much. Well, I think it's right to say that we're very grateful to all those who've made statements, parts of which have been read out this morning. They will all form part of the evidence before the inquiry and will be taken into account accordingly. Thank you. Now, that's it for the morning.
It is.
So we'll break now then and resume at 2 o'clock, please. 2 o'clock, please. Thank you.